Hello everyone, I'm 18 Storm Track meteorologist Austin Haskins. After a very nice start to the week with temperatures in the 30s and 40s, it was back to reality on our Wednesday as temperatures dropped back into the teens throughout the day, and thanks to a blustery north to northwest wind that kept those wind chills above and below zero throughout the day. Now we are starting off our morning pretty quiet, but we're tracking light snow chances in the forecast here for the next couple of days. We'll talk mostly about that. Also want to mention that it is going to be milder today and Friday. The wind is going to start picking up here late tonight and continuing through the weekend. And then after Friday, from Saturday through Tuesday, we are looking at some very cold conditions returning to the area, which we'll talk about here at the end of this video. So as I mentioned, we are starting off pretty quiet this morning as high pressure is sitting right over the area. A little bit of snow along it just north of the international border this morning from International Falls north into Canada. Our main system, though, is still out to the west, and that's going to move in here as we go throughout the day today. But there's been a few subtle changes to the forecast here, especially for today. So we'll talk about that here. So the snow initially, the last couple of days had it coming in around this time, between about 10 a.m. and noon. Now, this latest run of the graph model that we're looking at here doesn't really have it coming in until afternoon today. And you can see here how it's pretty scattered in nature and then starts to kind of fall apart a little bit as it gets into western Wisconsin. But then as we go throughout the night tonight, you can see our secondary round comes in as we get into the later parts of the evening and continuing into the overnight hours. Then into our Friday, we'll have those snow showers around to start the day. Then it's a little more isolated to widely scattered in nature throughout the afternoon hours and into our Friday night. And then even a few light snow showers and flurries continuing into Saturday morning. But then by midday, the snow comes to an end, and then heading into Saturday night, we'll finally start to clear up the skies here just a little bit. The HRRR model does show a little bit of a different picture. It actually has that snow coming in here as early as about mid-morning and is more widespread with some light to moderate intensity rates heading into the afternoon. But the one thing, too, that we're going to be looking at, actually it's really two things. The first thing is that we're going to be dealing with some drier air at the surface, so that might limit the snow from reaching the ground initially, thus pushing back the timing a little bit. And number two, you notice this pink that shows up here a little bit on the edge of this first wave. What's happening here is we could have some periods of freezing drizzle mixed in as well, as we do lose some of that saturation up in the middle to upper levels of the atmosphere. So with that happening potentially, that could lead to some patchy freezing drizzle in spots as we see those temperatures here at the surface gradually rise into the 20s. So something that we'll have to watch here. Then it also does show again tonight that burst of light to moderate snow into the evening and overnight hours, though it is a little more widespread in nature. And some of the data does suggest that another low pressure could develop with this system and pass just to our north, and that may help enhance snowfall totals in a few isolated spots. It's not a guarantee, but there's a few things, moving parts to this forecast that could ultimately impact snow totals here in the area. But then as we get into Friday afternoon and Friday night, the snow intensity winds down and it'll be more isolated to scattered in nature before wrapping up midday Saturday. So when you look at the probabilities again, the odds of at least 2 inches of snow or more is still pretty high. It's about 70 to 80% for most of the area. This little bit of red here is at least 90%. It is slightly lower as you go south and west. Looking at least 4 inches of snow, the highest odds, which is at about 35 to 50%, is really east of Eau Claire, north of Neillsville, and then really north of Highway 64 and east of Highway 35. So you can see Rice Lake, Ladysmith, the eastern parts of Chippewa and Eau Claire counties, most of Clark County and all of Taylor County. And then when you look at least 6 inches of snow, while it is very, very low overall, it's not completely zero. And this would be on the very high end of our forecast. And here's the latest update. Haven't really changed much from what Matt had during our Wednesday evening newscast, but what I've done is I've kind of shifted the axis of the 2 to 6 inch line from about Chautauqua to Osceola north, and then kind of curling it back through Ladysmith and Cornell down to Neillsville and Marshfield, and then the rest of western Wisconsin and the Chippewa Valley about 1 to 4 inches. But again, depending on the drier air initially, and then if we see maybe some extra energy move in with potentially another low developing, we could be on the higher end of these totals, but we could also be on the lower end as well. And with this being a long duration event, about roughly 48 hours or so, because the forecast here from noon Thursday to about the midday hours on Saturday, the snow is not going to add up extremely quickly either, unlike most clipper systems when they're in and out of here in about 12 to 24 hours, and you get those quick bursts of a couple inches of snow. This is going to be spread out over about 2 days or so, and totals will be a little bit less as you go farther south and west. So again, breaking everything down, we'll have periods of snow showers midday Thursday through midday Saturday. The things to watch, of course, for today, as I mentioned, that drier air at the surface initially and the loss of that saturation in the upper levels of the atmosphere, which could lead to some freezing drizzle with that first wave. And then snow totals again, most areas 1 to 4 inches, a little bit higher potentially north and northeast of Eau Claire. And there will be travel impacts regardless with snow-covered roads, maybe a little icy in spots if we end up having that freezing drizzle, and also reduced visibility because, as I mentioned earlier, the wind is going to be a little breezy, so with that snow falling, that could lead to some reduced visibility, and along with that, some areas of blowing snow as well. So when you look at the Winter Storm Severity Index from the Weather Prediction Center, it has it in the low category here today, or slick spots is what it is showing up here on the legend. Then tomorrow, it is low to moderate across the area, moderate being, snow-covered roads. And then on Saturday, mostly in that lower category, but a couple spots where it's in that moderate category. And mostly Friday and Saturday, that would be due to the wind and a little bit of that blowing snow. So just something that we will be watching here. Of course, we'll keep you updated as we go throughout the next couple of days. Now, the other thing to talk about is going to be the up and down with temperatures here over the next 36 hours. So we're going to be rising through the teens today. We'll see our temperature this afternoon in the upper teens and low 20s, but our high officially today will be just before midnight at around 26, 27 degrees here in Eau Claire. Overnight into Friday morning, we'll be up near 30, and the winds will be a bit breezy, so you can see the wind chills around 20, but then we drop Friday afternoon into Friday night. We'll be down into the single digits by Saturday morning. Wind chills likely will be below 0 at that point, at least to some degree, and then unfortunately, wind chills are likely going to remain below 0 throughout the weekend. This is a look off the European model, so this is just one look at it. But you can see by 7 a.m. Saturday, it shows temperatures in the low teens, wind chill of 3 below, and then temperatures actually maybe dropping a little bit throughout the day on Saturday. Sunday morning, single digits below, wind chills could be teens, maybe 20s below 0. Now you can see it'll be even colder as we get into Monday morning. I don't know if we're going to see wind chills in the 30s below, but certainly looking at teens and 20s below for wind chills at the lowest points here Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then again Sunday night into Monday morning, and possibly Monday night into Tuesday morning. So a couple of mornings where that wind chill could be down into the 20s below 0 in a few spots, and that is teetering on cold weather advisory threshold. We'll be watching that as we go throughout the weekend. Look at a high of 12 degrees on Saturday, 11 on Sunday. I have our lows at 5 and 6 below, and barely getting to 0 on Monday. I have us at 1 above. Some models do keep us below 0, so we'll have to kind of watch for that. We do see a slight moderation in temperatures Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe a little light snow late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, but then we're looking at potentially another blast of cold air heading into next weekend, but we'll worry about that once we get closer in time.